Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Esquire Coaching Radio, where we help attorneys achieve unparalleled personal and professional success. And now here's your host, Ann Jenrette Thomas.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Esquire Coaching Radio Show. It's such a pleasure to be here with all of you today. As you know, Esquire Coaching is a national coaching and consulting firm that is dedicated to helping attorneys achieve extraordinary whole life success. And to that end, we discuss the full range of topics from business building to getting a job to work-life balance and everything in between. Today, we have an awesome, amazing special guest and a good friend of mine who's going to talk to us about 3 essential elements of personal branding for leading-edge lawyers. So how can you stand out in today's economic market as a leading-edge lawyer? Well, it's simple. You need to develop a sizzling personal brand. Speaker, author, and profitable personal brand strategist Nicole K. Lundy will show us how. Nicole helps high-achieving professionals be seen as an expert and leading authority in their industry. She knows just how important it is to get the right visibility to catapult your career to the next level from her past experience working in corporate finance. She teaches her clients how to strategically craft a game plan that gets them fast and customized results in their career trajectory. I'm so proud to say that Nicole is a part of the Esquire Coaching team. She's a dear friend, as I mentioned before, and she's co-author of Esquire's forthcoming book, The Happy Law Practice, Expert Strategies to Build Business While Maintaining Peace of Mind. So in this episode, Nicole is going to tackle 3 essential elements of personal branding, which is alignment, influence, and visibility. Welcome, Nicole.
Thank you for having me, Ann. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy you're here. You're amazing. You have really taken the art of creating a signature personal brand and letting that do all the work for you in terms of just getting results so quickly. So I can't wait to just dive in and have our listeners benefit from some of your wisdom.
Awesome. I'm excited.
So, okay, one quick note before we begin. I want to remind our callers that there will be time at the end of this interview to ask Nicole any questions you may have directly. Get in queue now, 347-838-8719, and press 1 to get in queue. That's 347-838-8719. Press 1 to get in the line. All right, Nicole, so talk to us. Why is personal branding so important for lawyers?
Well, so the why of this whole personal branding thing for lawyers is that as a lawyer, you are literally 1 in a million. So I'm not just saying that to be funny. The American Bar Association reported in 2013 that in the United States alone, that there were 1.3 million licensed lawyers now. So if you're in the pursuit of a law career or you are a lawyer at the moment, just going through the credentials, the law school, and getting hired is not enough to stand out and to really have a dynamic law career, because you have to stand out and be the 1 out of a million that gets you clients that you actually love working with, because, let's face it, you have a grueling career type. So why not love it in the process and make it a dynamic one that really adds to your life as a whole?
I love that. You know what, I want to back up for a second because I just realized that some of our listeners may have heard the word branding or personal brand, but they might not know what that means. So could you just explain what a personal brand is?
Sure. It's one of those questions that people, get the deer in headlights look in. So what I've coined, to help everybody define how to answer this question is it's your exclusive guarantee of market value. So in simple terms, it means it's what you do and how you do it in your own special way. So I always use the example of Oprah Winfrey because, frankly, she's one of the greatest personal brand icons to date, in my opinion. And if you look at Oprah's exclusive guarantee of market value, one of those factors is empathy. Empathy is in every single thing that she does and delivers. It's in her tone of voice, her body language, how she tells a story, how she interviews, just everything. It's literally in her personal brand DNA. So going back to the definition of it's your exclusive guarantee of market value and doing something in your own special way, empathy is what adds to Oprah's special personal brand. There's many TV hosts, there's many people doing what she does, but she has her own special ingredients that makes her personal brand one of the greatest ever.
Oh, my goodness, that makes so much sense. I mean, she's a household name, even though, just like you pointed out, there are, and especially now with all these cable channels, there are even more talk show hosts and more, people who conduct interviews like she did, but she really cultivated that personal brand beautifully.
Awesome,
so
yes. And go ahead. I was going to say, like, even on YouTube. So now there's a lot of media channels and anybody can produce their own talk show. So now we're in the age where there's YouTube stars who are becoming household names, and it's because of their personal brand.
Wow. Okay. So, in our description of this particular episode, you talk about one of these essential elements being alignment. How does a lawyer get in alignment with their personal brand?
So to get in alignment with your personal brand and, be a top lawyer in your industry and specialty, you have to know your value proposition, you have to know what makes you different, and you have to know your marketability. So the entire point of personal branding is for people to know, like, and trust you. And to be honest, as a lawyer, you don't necessarily step into this profession with that intact 100%. In fact, lawyers are deemed one of the most untrustworthy profession types. I'm not sure if I'm saying that word right.
There is it's true. It's unfortunate, but that's why there's so many lawyer jokes and equating us with sharks and so forth. So, yep.
Right. Yeah. So as a lawyer, you're already starting out as a disadvantage to your whole personal branding game plan. So really being aware of this and crafting a game plan so that you can get prospects and your clients to know, like, and trust you will immediately help you stand out as, a top lawyer in your field. You'll have, priceless career benefits, credibility, authenticity, great reputation, trustworthy, the list goes on. So one of the 3 questions that you must answer in detail to get in alignment goes back to the 3 factors I just mentioned. So your value proposition, basically what do you stand for? 2, what makes you different? So getting into the details of what makes you stand out. And lastly, your marketability, which is what makes you compelling as a lawyer.
Love that. So, talk to us a little bit about a brand story. I mean, I've heard you talk about this before. Explain what that is and then why it's important for a lawyer to create one.
Okay, so great question. So a brand story is the story that portrays the heart and soul of your legal career and emotionally connects your brand with your clients and also potential clients. And you can also include your peers in there as well. The why or the importance of having a brand story is because you want to communicate what you stand for, what you promise, and what your clients experience. So that's the simple form of it.
Okay. So now what about how can someone actually create their brand story then?
Well, to create a brand story, you want to answer a series of questions. So there's about 10 questions, and I'll go through them, that you want to answer in detail and put them together. And then I'll give you about 7 story types that you can craft your story your brand story to be. So those questions include, what do you do? What are you attracted to, such as concepts, things, people? What do people praise you for the most? How has your relationship to what you do changed over time? So in other words, what did you learn on your way to where you are now? Number 5 is why do you do what you do? Number 6, what are you passionate about the most in your business? So in other words, what makes you feel alive? The 7th question you want to answer is, what are your goals for the future? Number 8 is some personal things. So what are your favorite colors, food, books, movies, objects, places, anything that's deemed favorite that comes to mind, you want to list those out. Number 9 is, what are your quirks? So, the little weird things that you may not mention normally. And then 10, three or more words that describe you. So when you answer all of these questions in detail, and these are not the only questions you can answer, but these 10 are the great foundation to getting your brand story started. So when you have all of these questions together, you want to mold them into one of these 7 story styles. So the first story style or story type, whichever name you prefer, is overcoming the monster, which is your classic underdog story. The second story style is rebirth, which is a story of renewal. The third story style is quest, which shows a mission from point A to point B. The fourth story style is journey and return. So this is all about the transformation through travel and homecoming. Number 5, which is the most popular story style, is rags to riches, which is all about rising from the ashes. The 6th story style is tragedy, which shows the dark side of humanity and the future nature of human experience. And the last story style is comedy, which is, the flip side of tragedy.
So let me just get this straight. I mean, I hear you with these different story styles, and I'm thinking about our lawyers, and they're probably like, okay, I'm supposed to create this brand story. I'm writing down all these different things that I like, and I'm supposed to fit into this story. But connect the dots for us. Why does it matter in terms of a lawyer trying to figure out how to craft a story that takes their interests and their values and who they are and kind of shape it in a, let's say, the rags to riches story or something like that?
Well, so let me make sure I'm understanding the question. Are you asking me to show a connection of why to create the brand story?
Yeah. So why would a lawyer need to do this?
Well, it goes back to your first question of, there literally being over 1 million lawyers today. So if you don't, having a brand story is one of the things that nobody can copycat you on. You can have a law degree like the 1.3 million other licensed lawyers. You can have, work at a law firm. You can have your own boutique. You can, name it. You can drive a 7 Series Benz. But what makes you different? The reason why you're driving a 7 Series Benz is because you drove, a 20-year-old 7 Series Benz while you were working 3 jobs to put yourself through law school. And you have, an emotional attachment to this car because you feel that it was an integral part, of your success and who you are.
I get it.
So
I think I'm finally... It basically makes you relatable to potential clients, right?
Right. It makes you human. So I don't mean to, make fun of lawyers, but it goes back to the know, like, and trust factor. One of the reasons that makes anybody not have that know, like, and trust factor is because you don't have a relatable factor. It's sort of like something so foreign to most people that they, don't know what to ask you. They feel like they're immediately in trouble. They feel like they're not as smart as you. So in this day and age, your personal brand and story goes together because it just brings you to having that irresistible and fascination factor.
Oh, got it. I get it now. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about how to use social media for personal branding, because I see you on Facebook and Twitter, and I see you using it really well, but how can we translate that for lawyers?
Okay, so to translate it for lawyers, I want everybody listening to know that I know you're strapped for time. And, you know, I came from corporate finance, so I get that social media sounds like, you know, this fun thing to do in your spare time. But as a lawyer, and, you know, for anybody listening to the show who has a really busy career, I want you to really do your research and only sign up for the social media platforms where your current clients are hanging out and where your prospects are hanging out. But the trick is, if your current clients are hanging out on a certain social media platform, more than likely, prospects who will hire you are hanging out on those same platforms. So that's the first step, is to find which platform makes sense for you to be on, because you're time strapped. The second thing is you want to share information, share your point of view. So there's always something in the media going on that, you know, lawyer related or whatnot. And if you just start sharing your point of view of it, especially if it's in your area of specialty, then it brings you back to that relatable factor and gets people know, liking, and trusting you. So even if they never hire you as a prospect, it's like, whoa, there's this real estate lawyer on Twitter. He's always giving his opinions on those, you know, those home shows on HGTV, and, you know, I know somebody, and then you're automatically referred. That name sticks because you stand out from every other lawyer who's not doing that and showing their personality and their authentic point of view on the social media platform that they choose.
Oh, wow. Okay. And I love what you're saying. You know, I know a lot of lawyers, and I think that this is important, you know, to be on LinkedIn. It's a great way to, as Jennifer Robinson, who was on last week, pointed out, it's a great way to connect with other lawyers and referral partners. But what you're saying is taking it a step further, and that's, you know, also think about where's your ideal client base going to be. You know, maybe they're on LinkedIn, maybe they're on Facebook, maybe they're on Twitter, and really figuring out how to get visible there. That's key. I love that.
Yes, and just to add to LinkedIn, I personally think LinkedIn is a great personal brand building social media platform to be on. But if you're on it, you need to be fully on it. And LinkedIn is one of those things where you can have a complete profile. You don't necessarily have to share things like profile updates all the time, but just having a complete profile with a professional headshot and all of your credentials and work history and all of that stuff filled out can add to that as well too. Even if your clients aren't hanging out on there and your peers are, you still need to have a high standard of presence on it.
I totally agree. So, you know, before we continue, I just want to remind our callers that if you want to ask Nicole a question directly about personal branding and what to do to really set yourself apart as a leading edge lawyer, call us now, 347-838-8719, and press 1 to get in the queue. That's 347-838-8719, and press 1 to get in the queue. Okay, Nicole, so I have heard you speak on the stage before, and one of the things that you talk about is this thing called a fame name. What is a fame name, and how can our lawyers create one?
Cool. So a fame name is one of the most exciting things I love to talk about, and one of the coolest things I like to create with people too. Okay, so a fame name is your very own personal headline that describes yourself in a short and concise way. So the two things that your fame name does is it tells people your specialty and exactly who you help. So, as an example, if you are a real estate lawyer, as an example, instead of just introducing yourself as a real estate lawyer and you put that on your LinkedIn profile and that you say you introduce yourself as a real estate lawyer at networking events and everywhere you go, get really specific on what type of real estate lawyer you are. So one, it goes back to everything we've previously discussed. The know, like, and trust factor is, that pathway is cut down, immediately, and you get people to relate to you way faster. So back to the real estate lawyer example. So if you, for instance, are a first-time home buyer's real estate lawyer, then say that. So you can say, for instance, I'm Ted Thompson, and I'm a first-time home buyer's real estate lawyer. Or I'm Ted Thompson, I'm an investment property real estate lawyer. Or I am a residential renovation real estate lawyer. Or I'm a high-rise commercial building real estate lawyer. It's way more specific, and people say, oh, because literally to the masses, a lawyer is a lawyer, and they just know everything there is about law. But on the lawyer side of things, you're really specialized in a certain area. So if you just introduce yourself in a general term, then you don't get that relatable factor. You don't get people who need you, who will ask you more questions, who will refer you to people who can help build your personal brand platform naturally because you introduced yourself in a way that says exactly what your specialty is and exactly who you help.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. And, it actually even sounds like a good foundation for an elevator pitch, because now all of a sudden you're combining everything, who you are, who you serve, and how you help them. It makes a lot of sense.
Totally. You can use it in your elevator pitch. You can use it on your business card. You can use it in your social media profile when you only have a little bit of space to write. I mean, you can use it in so many places, and it's just a game-changing strategy. I highly recommend it.
I do too, now that you said it. So, okay, now part of the reason why we're talking about developing a personal brand in the first instance is about really being a leading-edge lawyer. So how does this help, how does the strategies you've discussed today help lawyers to actually lead and lead authentically?
Okay, so once you're in, in the flow of your game plan to, really solidify your personal brand, you'll quickly realize, that leadership is a critical skill for being a leading edge lawyer. So first things first in terms of leadership is that you need to get really clear on your leadership behavior style. And just to back up a little bit, if you are not perceived as a leader, then it's a long, hard road because you will have to convince every single prospect, every single client, and every single peer of yours of your worth and credibility as a skilled and leading edge lawyer. And oftentimes people relate being a leader as being an extrovert, and that is not true. You can it doesn't matter if you're an extrovert or an introvert. Leadership skills applies to everybody, to every personality type. So leadership behavior style. So I'm going to give a list. I'm going to give the listeners a list of common leadership styles, and basically as soon as you hear it, usually you know that's your style, and typically we all have about up to 3 leadership behavior styles. So here are the common ones. So the first one is problem solver. The second is a referee. So a referee settles conflict. Process manager is the third one. So a process manager ensures that goals are met. The fourth leadership style is a procurer. So that leadership style finds and manages resources. The fifth one is visionary. Sixth is crisis manager. Seventh is motivator. Eighth is taskmaster. 9 is a counselor leadership style. 10th is risk taker, and 11th is expert. I think I miscounted along the way, but those are the top leadership styles.
You know, as you were saying, I was like, which one am I? I think I might be the visionary. We'll see.
Yeah, it's usually the one that you immediately think. I mean, you may question it, but that's natural too. But usually, the one you sort of think you are, it usually is.
Yeah, I think you're right, because some of them really, you know, hit me, and others were just sort of like, you know, not so much.
Right.
But, okay, you know, so I wanted to just make sure that we talked about all of these three essential elements to having this personal brand for being a leading-edge lawyer. We talked about alignment. I think we also talked about influence, right, where you're presenting your authority as a leading-edge lawyer. Is there anything more you want to say about influence?
Influence. Well, for influence, you want to think that the goal for being influential is that when you speak or when you say something or when you give your point of view or opinion on anything, you actually want people to listen to you. Doesn't mean that they have to agree, but they want you to listen to you. So, for instance, this week, Jimmy Fallon is debuting on The Tonight Show. Because he has influence now for being entertaining, out of the box, and all of these other things that add to his personal brand that differentiates him from a lot of other talk show hosts, his ratings were through the roof. He has a ton more new followers, and people actually are planning their schedules around now watching The Tonight Show, if you didn't watch it before.
Wow.
So think of that. I mean, that's a fun example, but he has influence. Now a show that comes on 11:30, I think it comes on 11:30. You know, people are now adjusting their schedule to watch it. They never watched it in the show's history, but they do because of his influence. So in terms of being a lawyer, it goes back to all of the factors we talked about, your fame name, your point of view, what you share with people willingly and freely and relatable, all adds to your influence. People want to listen to you because you talk down to earth, you have a know, like, and trust factor. They know exactly what your specialty is and who you serve. So even if they're not your ideal client, what you say might still be interesting to them because it's not vague. It's not like, maybe I kind of need them. Maybe I should give them a call. It's very clear and direct. So being very clear, being very real and authentic, and being in complete alignment all adds to influence.
I love that. I love that. Nicole, great tips today on alignment, influence, and you showed us how to be visible. How can our listeners get a hold of you?
So I am very easy to find on social media. So I'm Nicole K. Lundy on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Google+, YouTube. I think that's all. And then my website, you can go on my website, ProfitablePersonalBrand.com. I have a free weekly newsletter that's all about mastering your brand. So you're free to join and to learn a lot more fun tips, such as what we spoke about today. And I have more stuff in the works, but I can't speak on it now.
Oh, okay. I love that. And by the way, for our listeners, her newsletter is great. It also includes essentially a signature CEO look. It's always wonderful. So, Nicole, thank you so much for joining us. And listeners, you know, grab the copy of A Happy Law Practice when it comes out on March 25th, where Nicole delves more, you know, deeply into each of these topics and actually gives you even more strategies on building your personal brand. So let's keep this conversation going. Join us on Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn. You can find all of our links on esquirecoaching.com. And if you have questions, just feel free to email us at info@esquirecoaching.com, and we'll be happy to pass them on or answer them. All right, everyone. Until next week, let's be powerful.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody.